satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are listed in the annual agenda. Copies are sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley Press and posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. The notice of this special meeting via the January 2, 2022 Sunshine Notice has been sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley News and has been posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and Borough website. So we have two items to be considered tonight. The first one is instituting a mask mandate, which Councilwoman Dayton put on the agenda here. So Councilwoman, you want to talk to us a little bit about this?
Sure. First, I want to thank my council for having a quorum tonight to discuss this. And of course, the COVID testing unit, that's our next item. I think both of them are immediate need right now. There is an urgency to both of these items to be discussed. So thank you for tonight's meeting. I'm introducing a mask mandate tonight to assist the flattening of the curve for COVID-19 transmission and its morbidity, which is still occurring, unfortunately, in vulnerable populations, in senior populations, and those with underlying conditions. I want to reduce the strain on our first responders, our local hospital systems, and of course on our doctors and nurses on the front lines. I know I heard from one resident recently here in town who already has been put back on a COVID team in New York City. So again, we want to make sure that our first responders and our hospital systems are not overflowed with cases, even if mild. I would like the mask mandate to require masks over the nose and mouth, which is a known and effective way and medically sound way to combat the rise of the community transmission for both our residents and for visitors coming here. We are fortunate enough to have an open nature center, and we are going to see over this winter numerous visitors coming to Tenafly to enjoy our parks, playgrounds, and nature center, and I want to ensure that everyone remains safe. I've heard from some senior residents in town, I've heard from some concerned parents, and I've heard from individuals who say, I went food shopping and I was uncomfortable, I went to the local stores and I was uncomfortable, the person helping me at the store didn't have a mask, the person on the line in front of me and behind me in the shopping center didn't have masks. And with the high rate of transmission and the contagiousness of Omicron, I think a mask mandate is a reasonable and short measure to put in place right now to protect our community. We are not unique in this, obviously, and we are seeing mask mandates in other communities. I'm not looking to lock the town down. I don't want to shut businesses. If anything, I want to ensure businesses remain open and have patrons and customers. And so to me, this is a logical, safe, and medically proven way to reduce the spread. It will hopefully be a fast wave, but this will flatten it even quicker. And with that, I pass it to my council.
Council members, questions, comments? Anybody? Comments?
I mean, for the public, can I read one or two of the provisions, Mayor?
Hold on. I have a comment.
Go ahead, Dan.
The two provisions I would take out would be the outdoors part and the signage part.
So the outdoors is municipal parks, playgrounds, and recreational facilities. So if we're going to run our programs, let's say travel soccer right now, or travel wrestling, or whatever it is, I want to make sure that when our visitors come, they know that there's a mask requirement. I think that adults and children both should, for the safety of themselves and others, have a mask on. If parents don't want their children playing the sport in a mask, I think our rec department has some set rules on that, but I do think for the next 30 days, it makes sense not to have community transmission amongst the kids. My daughter's table in the middle school today went from one kid yesterday with COVID to 6. So it is passing through the kids, which is why I included that. As for the signage, Jeff, can I pass that one to you? I know that was your request.
Yeah, it was the other day. I've rethought it. I mean, there are a lot of stores that have their own signs, so we don't need to spend borrowed time or resources. But back to the outdoor for a second. I mean, remember, that would also include, I go down to the, if I do, I don't, because I have a indoor treadmill, but let's say I go down to the track. Now to run the track, I would need a mask.
For the next whatever amount of days during this wave, yes.
And that could even be with staying distance from people. I'm trying to breathe because I'm running. I think that
It does say or with it does say or
problematic because
within.
that's not a recreation program, and this is not in keeping with the CDC guidelines even.
Jeff, actually, the ordinance, the mask mandate does say within 6 feet of another. So if you're outside on the track and no one's around you, you don't have to have your mask on. That's why it's written that way.
If I pass, you're walking the track, I'm running, I pass you, I got to put my mask on, then take it off.
Yeah.
Technically.
Technically, you should do that because you don't know if I have an immunocompromised condition, if I have asthma, if I've had a previous heart attack, if I've had diabetes. You should have that consideration for your neighbor and your community. Yes.
So I'm just going to jump in here on this discussion because the track is Board of Ed property.
Well, that's just an example he was using.
So I'm sorry, Dan, were you about to speak?
No, sorry, I was brainstorming about the track. Sorry.
All right, so I'm just going to kind of go around the table here. Jeff and Dan have spoken. Vanu, what's your view? There's 3 topics: a mask requirement indoors at stores. The second topic is mask requirement outside, and then the third is the issue of signs. Where do you stand on this?
Mayor, it's only outdoors and borough run parks, playgrounds, and recreation.
Understood.
Borough
Outdoors
run,
and borough
not
run, right?
I can't mask up everything.
Right.
So-
Go, Vanu.
So just, I mean, my thoughts are that the outdoor, I mean, first of all, just a general comment on masking. I understand that, there's a safety angle to wearing a mask. I fully appreciate that, and I think people have gone through it, but we have a significantly high vaccination rate in the town, and I know that doesn't stop the spread of the virus, but we are vaccinated at a much higher percentage than nearly anywhere else. With that framework in mind, we're going to come across this virus. It's endemic. It's no longer just pandemic. We're going to see this every year. We're going to see we're going to see flus. We're going to see all kinds of public health concerns. And, I think, just in general, I feel like we can't legislate every virus away just because it's going through the town. We do have to look at things a little more. First of all, people are concerned about their own lives. I mean, they don't. We should educate. We should provide. The mayor's message should provide for the commentary that we're interested in public safety and we want everybody to be safe, and that includes masking, etc. We should follow CDC guidelines. So there should be the advisory, but in terms of having this as a mandate every single time that something comes about, I think will be overkill and kind of ridiculous in my mind. But having said that, in terms of the public being outdoors, I would strike that. And the signs, I think, if businesses want to, put up the signs, they should put up the signs. It's something we can have them photocopy or create on their own. In terms of businesses, I would say businesses should. I mean, especially since we don't have the ability to have the police come in and take action beyond just warning people that it's better for them to be masked. We're not going to be able to do anything further than that from an enforcement point of view with a resolution.
So, can I just respond to that last point?
Sure,
From
go
what
ahead,
I
Mark. Go ahead.
If the mask mandate passes, there's two aspects to that, be it further resolved provision. One is to make it easier for businesses. We could provide signage that's uniform that says, please wear your mask when inside. The second thing is notification of businesses that this resolution passes, assuming it does. And so there's two different things. And the enforcement, by the way, would be Board of Health. If a business isn't following a health, remember, this is health. If a business isn't following, it doesn't necessarily fall within the police department to enforce, nor would I necessarily want to have our officers running around town doing that. That's not what I'm asking for here. It would be a health compliance. And again, Vinu, let me just say something. You said people are concerned about their own lives. The whole point of the mask is to protect those around you as well as yourself.
I understand that, and what I'm saying is so those we have a high rate of vaccination. The ones who are not vaccinated are so we're talking about a very small percentage. We're the number of people who would get it from the unvaccinated would get it is actually quite small. And with Omicron, where the effects are actually very mild, we're not looking at something that is of concern in that way. So I think it's less of an issue with Omicron than with let's say the Delta variant. We didn't freak out with the Delta variant and impose all kinds of things, even though that was was more dangerous. And I think I don't think this is it's necessary, but I will go with the majority.
So let me just, I just want to say something. Number one, the hospitals, from what I understand, New York City are still 50-50 Delta Omicron. So this is in reaction to Delta. Number two, I'm an individual with health conditions that are underlying that you can't see and don't know I have. So you standing next to me, and I have 3 shots. You standing next to me, still giving me Omicron, is still putting my health at risk, regardless of my vaccination status. So Omicron is still affecting those with underlying conditions just as much. There's not this layoff of no one's dying and no one's getting hospitalized here. We're not there yet. And hopefully the next round after this, we will be. And I'm not looking to constantly do this. But right now, the reality that we're facing, we are at the highest transmission rate that in all of New Jersey since the pandemic started.
But we also have other viruses and public health issues that go through the town, and having an underlying condition doesn't prevent somebody with a flu from the next time there's a flu going around the town. We didn't do this 10 years ago when there were flus every year. And the same people with underlying conditions were still had the same problems. I don't know that we need to every time this is setting up a precedent for every time there's a something that freaks somebody out to then put in a resolution that says we need a mask.
Yeah, I don't think the 25 deaths we've had in Tenafly are a freak out, and I don't want to see another. And I'm sorry if I want to protect others, because that's what my role is here: health, public safety.
Okay, we haven't had a death in all this time that Omicron and even the Delta variant has been out there. We had the deaths early on when there was no knowledge of what was. What the virus would cause.
I'd like to hear from the 2 other council members. Adam, your views on this? Indoor, outdoor signs.
So I absolutely agree with Lauren on, I think this is a a disease. You know, this is certainly a big deal, and anything we can do to address it, I think we need to be doing. I don't think it's any exaggeration at all. I like that the mayor brings it up at every meeting on Friday. The concern or question I have is the note that Wendy sent around what is the mandate actually do per se. So I am a believer and the mayor should bring it up. Anytime he speaks, it should be part of his conversation, and he does. It's amazing. I love the opportunity to share some standardization if the businesses so choose, and we could ask our chamber liaison to help us with that. So if we could help the businesses anyway, we don't tell them what to do, but if they want copy, you know, Jeff mentioned that they already have stuff. That's great. Hey, here are 3 other things, and you know, use it as you'd like. That's what I want to do. I think our job is about communication. Again, if I don't like doing stuff just to do it to make myself feel good, if we can't stop people from doing something, then it's a little bit moot. And I don't believe, and I see the chief on, and I very much value his point of view. I don't think we can enforce it, at which point it might make us feel better that we agree on something, but it doesn't actually do anything. So my thing is communication. I love every single day. Let's communicate that masks up, masks help. They certainly don't hurt. Let's all agree that they certainly don't hurt. So that's 1. 2, by the mayor bringing forward every single week how dangerous it is. It is dangerous. Anyone that says otherwise doesn't have the facts straight. So the fact that we bring up every week that there's X more cases, and let's remind people, wash their hands, put masks help. We just have to, my thing is about, you know, sharing the information. I don't know if the mask mandate, I don't know what it does other than it makes the 6, 7 of us feel good that, you know, we're putting something in place, but it's not going to be enforced. That's my concern.
Well, I'm just going to jump in on 1 second, if that's okay, Mayor. But as
Go
far
ahead.
as with the mandate, you do give the businesses the opportunity to enforce.
Which
If
they
I were
can't
to,
do without this.
well,
And if that's the case, I love it. And I would be a supporter of it. Yes, whatever power we could give to the businesses to choose, again, what they do with that enforcement, then Wendy, then I love that. Then I'm a supporter of that.
well, you raise an interesting point. They could, you know, because it's their property, even if it's open to the public, they can certainly refuse service to someone who's not wearing a mask. I think this, while it does lack a little bit of enforcement teeth, it does give them the ability to say, I have no choice. I have to ask you to leave.
Then I like that. And then if the chief thinks that's, I really respect the chief. And I don't know if our health department, Lauren, that you brought up, if that should be an element as well. But if that helps the businesses, that if that helps the chief, that helps others, then I would be supportive of it in businesses, in locations that you're talking about.
So I also want to say, Adam, one of the greatest things is the mayor's message. I agree, for our residents. But thankfully, the patrons of our stores, our customers of our stores, are not just Tenafly and are limited to Tenafly. We want people from surrounding towns to come and patronize our businesses. And this makes sure that our residents and our communities, even surrounding communities, are safer. Because, you know, people come and they use our fields for recreation. They come and they are travel teams and a bunch of parents sitting on the side. They're coming and they're at Stop and Shop and they're online next to you. They're not all hearing the mayor's message. I wish it was the case. Mayor will put you on a loudspeaker, but
So do I.
yeah. But the point of the mandate is that it establishes a set of guidelines that everyone should follow, and it's for health and safety. It's not just arbitrary. And while Wendy says it may not have such teeth, it does, you know, offer guidance.
All right, so let's hear from Councilwoman Dr. O'Connor. We haven't heard from her yet.
Hi, thank you.
So
Okay.
Councilwoman, it's
Yeah.
The 3 topics, right? Indoor mandate, view, outdoor, and the signage issue.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to kind of get it back to the idea of what our purpose is here. So we're talking about a mandate, and we have to recognize a couple of things that have changed. It's now January 2022, and I am not for things that are just to make us, feel better. I'm for things that actually will have an impact. I really struggle to find how this is going to have any impact at all on what people actually do. Because in January 2022, in our area, which is not South Florida, everybody around here knows that masking prevents the infection. We also have an enormously high vaccination rate in our town, and we're lucky to live in this area, very well-educated people who understand that there's steps we have to take to bring this down. Any business has signs on their door or not, and it's their decision, but every place I go, people mask, just because it's almost becoming part of our culture. I just feel like you put out some sort of ordinance, I call it a resolution. What that can invite is absolutely nothing different than is currently done. And also, if it is, you're saying, it gives them extra power as the owner of the business. What is that power? They're not going to be calling the police because this doesn't cover that. It's not enforceable in that way. I really don't see the purpose of doing this in January 2022. Everybody knows as an adult what they have to do to prevent COVID. And the thing about the outdoors to me is I have no interest in that, but we're really talking about private businesses indoors is the sticking point. I think we already mandate masks be worn in our borough hall when visitors come in, and I think it's totally appropriate because it protects our public and our employees of our town. But I don't like doing things that just make us feel good, and I just don't see how this impacts one thing at all with regard to stopping the spread of COVID. We know how to do it, and we're fortunate we live in a community that people do it. So that's my take on it.
I think, Julie, just one thing. So I think, Julie, you and I said the exact same thing, and I think Wendy helped us, responded that you're absolutely right. It would help. And again, Wendy, please don't let me put words in your mouth, because I think Julie and I said the same thing. Your response back to me was it would help the businesses if they were concerned. It gives them the ability to more easily remind people. And again, I think you're right. I think there are going to be some people. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I heard her response, and that's all well and good, but I think there's no, I mean, Wendy, no offense taken, but it doesn't really clarify to me that there's any difference in what's happening right now.
No, the only difference is it lets the business owners blame the resolution as to why they're asking people to mask up versus them just saying, I don't feel comfortable, please put on a mask. It just gives them somebody else.
And then if a belligerent customer says, I don't want a mask, and the resolution doesn't mean anything because you can't call a bunch of cops on me.
Well, no.
They're correct.
If the store owner or worker, whoever is operating the business, asks someone to mask and they refuse to and they won't leave, you can always call the police for trespass.
And that's today too. That's without any resolution today, right?
True, but they should have some kind of a sign on the door saying mask required. Otherwise, they have nothing to base the expulsion of the customer with.
Right. So some stores, I see the mask required on their store, and other stores don't have that. That's the decision of the store owner. Again, I'm going back 2 years to the answer because yes, Adam, I started the same place as you. I'm just not ending in the same place as you because I'm not seeing that Wendy's clarifying for me any different other than a store owner can say, oh, I'm blaming it on the resolution of the town. I don't know any store owner that needs this help.
So I know who needs the help, and it's Tenafly residents. And I don't know where you guys are living, but I live here in Tenafly. I'm in the town every day. I wish every place I went, I saw people in masks. Nobody is wearing masks. I wish I wasn't in a supermarket in between two people without a mask and having somebody helping me in the supermarket whose mask is down below their chin. I wish my town, where everyone knows, didn't just all get off a plane on vacation, show up to town, and not have masks. So I am sorry. I don't know where the rest of you guys live. I live here in Tenafly, and in Tenafly residents are not masked. This asks the Tenafly residents to protect each other. It's not something that we're imposing as a punishment. It's wonderful that everyone might know this information, but they're not actually doing this. So this tells people we're at a high rate of transmission. It is a medically sound thing to do. The town is asking you to mask it up.
Jeff, go ahead, please.
A non-enforceable resolution, I don't see how
Okay.
this is the solution.
All right.
So that's what I say.
It's okay. Go ahead, Councilman Grossman.
Lauren, to your example, let's say we pass the resolution. You're at Stop and Shop. You're between two people who don't have a mask.
Happened today.
No, I'm saying we pass the resolution and it happens. So it's tomorrow, not today. What changes?
What changes that I can get the store manager and say, please have them put on their mask.
Manager says, I really don't want to do this.
Well, they lost my business today.
I'm just saying, I'm playing devil's advocate. The store
Eventually,
manager says that. What changes? What's different?
then I call the Board of Health and I say, I'm sorry, they're not following our mask mandate right now. It's not healthy. It's not safe. It's not medically sound right now in that store. That's what it is. Just like everything else that we regulate, whether it be seatbelts or pot or, the health conditions of the water in our stores. For 30 days, we're saying the transmission rate is so high. There are cancer survivors. There's people on chemo. There's asthma. There's diabetes, heart attack survivors. These are not things you can see. These are things that it doesn't matter if it's Omicron or Delta or Alpha. They all affect them.
Mr. Mayor,
I'm sorry. You also just said for 30 days, but there's no time limit on the proposed resolution.
I did that on
that's
purpose
not true. You're talking 60 days, 90 days, 120 days.
Jeff, I'm gonna let the wave and the hospitals and the doctors advise us, because that's who advised me here.
Okay, so let's.
Can I ask? The chief has graciously volunteered his time to join us. I'd love, without putting him on the spot, if Chief, if you have a point of view or some guidance you could provide the council.
Chief Chamberlain, you're now on the spot.
I didn't mean to.
They put you on the spot. You know you're going to be on the spot as soon as someone says, "I hate to be on the spot."
Good evening.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening to everyone. So I'm just sitting here listening. I'm just trying to process something, how we're going to basically respond to this, and if it is enacted or not. Again, our resolutions are not enforceable. There's no penalty phase to that. And so again, we wouldn't be able to issue summonses, and nor would I want to. This is a closed session meeting, correct?
No. This is an open public meeting.
Okay, all right. Kind of to Councilman Grossman's point, the scenario that he gave, even though, yes, there could be a resolution in place and the businesses may know about it, I think realistically, I think most businesses, if not all, are going to be very, very reluctant to approach anyone and to tell any of their patrons that they got to wear a mask. They don't want to upset their patrons. They want their business, and I think it's something they want to basically. I'm not saying that's correct. I think what would happen is that the scenario would be, as Lauren indicated, is if another patron approached them and asked for action, and then you're going to have, some are going to comply, some are going to maybe ask, some are going to say no. I don't see store owners actually upon themselves addressing the issue. it's a hot topic. Obviously, it's something we have a difference of opinion here amongst everyone. I'm listening to all of you. I think all of you have valid points. I just wouldn't want to get into a situation where we are going on a regular basis to these locations that we're having to diffuse, obviously people that are heated. To Wendy's point about the trespassing. So trespassing would be constituted if, you had a sign that says you can't come here and you do. If someone is a patron and they walk in and they don't have a mask, and then the store owner says, something, you have to leave, and the person, something says, I don't want to leave. At that point in time, the trespassing notice is made. So you can't probably charge with trespassing right at that point. But if they are defiant and say, I'm not leaving, and the store owner says, no, you are, and it gets into a no, I'm not, then it becomes defiant trespass because they have been notified, and at that point in time, we would get involved and we would do the removal, and we could do charges if that was necessary, but we would always try to avoid that. So, from anecdotally, from my observations these last couple of days, last week or so, more people are wearing masks. I am seeing that. I'm seeing people that I know in town that normally I don't see wearing masks are wearing it. It doesn't solve Lauren's issue of getting more people to wear it, but I do believe that people have a heightened sense of concern, and there is more mask wearing. But yes, there still is a good number of people that do not. That's my input on it. Something I don't know if it helps you or not. I mean, obviously, we're always going to try to be there to do conflict resolution if a problem arises. If I came in late, so I missed part of the sign thing. I mean, sometimes signs have a deterrent effect. Something if you add a sign with a resolution number on it, and that is conveying a message to people without uttering it, and makes people less, they can avoid being uncomfortable. Sometimes signs do have a value in that, but again, it's not really a police matter. We're not going to have an enforcement mechanism to it, but if people get into it, obviously we're going to have to respond and diffuse the scenario. And I'm not looking for any more work than we already have right now.
Okay, so go ahead, Lauren. Then I want to summarize for the council what I think I'm hearing here. Go ahead.
Chief, thank you for weighing in. Number one, I didn't intend to have it as a police penalty. I wanted it to be a Board of Health violation. Number two, your point about the signs is exactly, while Jeff Grossman came up with it, while it was included, because we do want to take the heat off the business owners. We want to de-escalate the situation. We want it standardized. The town has asked us to do this. It's posted in the window. We could print out 100 signs pretty easily. Please wear a mask, be respectful to others, stay 6 feet, whatever it needs to be that we used to have. And I just think it's a reminder for those who are visiting us, who aren't hearing the mayor's message as well, to come in and follow those rules. I'm glad you're seeing an uptick in masks. I am not. I'm in town all day. I'm, mom here with the carpool lines and the moms and the dads and the parents at the playgrounds and the school fields. Nobody has a mask on around me. Nobody. I'm like the only one in a mask. So, I am concerned. I don't think people are taking this uptick seriously. I understand Vanu doesn't think it's a situation that should be frantic. I disagree. Having a health condition, I do. I still am very concerned to wind up in the hospital and have no childcare for my kids or infect my parents. So for me, this is medically sound. CDC says masks are effective. I see no reason why this should be so contentious.
Vanu, please.
Yeah, I just want to say, I mean, Councilwoman Dayton is not the only one with an underlying condition. I have an underlying condition. I care about my life. I mean, I have a daughter who I want to see grow up further. All of this stuff, so I mean, we're not talking about somebody who's insensitive. I'm talking about, the fact that I think we need to treat people like adults to some extent and educate them, which is what I said from the beginning. That there's no. I completely agree with the mayor putting out a message. And I'll tell you, as a store owner, you know, I have a sign in the door there to the entryway, and you know, it says, and this has been from April when I opened the store. It's been there, and nobody comes in and you know, everybody comes in, sees the sign, they go to their car if they don't have their mask. They come back, they put it on and get in the store. If they're in the store without a mask, and I say, you know, please, you know, I want you to have a mask on, they'll go and they'll get a mask, or they'll leave. So, you know, I've never been faced with a confrontational situation with anybody, you know, not wanting to wear a mask. But it's different from a town mandating a business. And as far as you know, me saying I don't want you to come in without a mask versus, oh, the town tells me, you know, I would love to have you come in with a mask, but without a mask, but you know, well, the town won't let me. So I mean, you know, you're either taking responsibility for your business or you're not. You know, and you don't need a town to tell your customer to wear a mask.
All
So
right.
Mayor, we didn't discuss any of the exceptions here in the mandate. I just want to make the public aware.
Do a what for later?
There's a list of exceptions that Wendy put in the resolution. You know, no kids under age 2, no persons with disabilities who cannot wear a face covering or cannot safely wear a face covering, a person for whom a mask would create a risk to the person related to their work, as determined by local, state, and federal regulations or workplace safety, a person while eating or drinking inside any establishment that serves food or beverage. You know, this mandate also would include all municipal and government related businesses, Department of Public Works, Tenafly Police Department, Tenafly Fire Department, Tenafly Senior Center. There's officers, firemen, and first responders here too that need to be protected. And again, I think masks are still the best way to do that.
All right, so let me summarize a little bit here. I'm going to go back with. Go ahead.
Sorry, Mayor, can I just ask a question for Wendy?
Sure.
Because Councilmember Dayton mentioned she'd call the Board of Health for a health code violation. Do we actually have health code violation that would be enforceable in that situation?
So I actually am not sure about that. I don't think it is without it being a Board of Health ordinance. The prior mask mandates were enforceable by the Board of Health due to the language in the executive orders from the governor, but that is not in this resolution.
So would we need to add that, Wendy, to make this enforceable?
Wait a minute, to add what, Wendy?
Councilman Grossman was asking me on whether the Board of Health would have authority under this resolution to enforce it, and I don't believe they have authority either without an ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, have you heard anything from the governor's office? Like anything in?
No, it's up to local municipalities. Just one quick comment I'm going to make about the fire department. The fire department cannot wear cloth masks. They need to wear, when they're on duty, the only thing they're able to wear is their fire apparatus masks.
They fall under the exception that Wendy wrote.
Pardon me?
They fall under the exception that Wendy
wrote. They're definitely accepted from it. Okay, so just to summarize here, what I'm generally hearing is that the borough would administratively provide signs to businesses to put up, but that the signs would not be mandated. We would supply them to everyone. I'm not hearing support overall for.
I want to vote, Mayor. I want to vote.
Okay, so I'm just summarizing, then we'll have votes, and the council could, vote, on each of these three if you'd like. And then it sounds like there's some general support for, the indoor mask mandate at businesses. So how does the council want to do this? Do you want to vote on each of the three topics? What do you guys think?
Can I ask a question about the Board of Health first?
Sure.
Can I ask a question before that? All right, so so I do understand about the Board of Health role in this, or as Lauren's envisioning it. With the violation that the Board of Health would note, that can't obviously be against the person not masking, is it? Is it that they get some ticket or the store for not putting up the sign? What would that look like?
It's the business. It's against the business. Just like if the business doesn't follow proper procedures in any other health area. You know, if the business, let's say, has a patron who's smoking inside, here's a perfect example of something very similar. Someone is sitting in a restaurant smoking. It affects those around them. Someone on the next table says, can you please stop smoking? It is actually the business's obligation to come over and ask that patron to stop smoking within its establishment. It's the same concept. This is asking a patron to put a mask on for themselves and others. Same thing.
The difference is with the example is that there's a state statute that prohibits smoking indoors. So this when the Board of Health issues a violation or a summons, it's very similar to the way that a police summons would look. It's the form, it has to cite to the ordinance or the law that is being broken. A resolution doesn't give that authority.
Well, Wendy, do you want to go back to having it as a summons and penalty? I thought we were trying to avoid that.
No, the issue is that the resolution wouldn't give authority to have a summons or penalty. That would need to be done by ordinance. The only way that the municipality can pass the equivalent of a statute of a law is by ordinance.
Okay, is that possible here?
Yeah, you could pass an ordinance that you could have a sunset provision in it. I mean, that's certainly under your authority to implement ordinances, just like resolutions, but it's, the process is an ordinance. It would be 2 meetings, a public hearing, and through that process that you enact your laws. The same way that poor Chief Chamberlain can't write a ticket for a parking lot that isn't on your code book because he can't have a sign to cite to an ordinance is the same reason why a resolution wouldn't give the gravitas that you may be looking for.
So how is
the business owner goes and
I'm
says,
sorry,
I
Julie.
want you to put on a mask, and then they say, I don't want to put on a mask. Then the business gets punished?
Wendy, how are other towns doing it? Because obviously we mirrored this resolution off numerous other towns that passed a resolution just like this. So please, I know you have one in Somerset. How is everyone else doing this?
Well, in going back through their meetings, the one in Somerset, I think their council had the same problem as far as how is this actually enforceable?
Did they pass?
They chose to move forward anyway, so at least it gives more public outreach out there. What I'm finding as the days go on and more research is going into it is, things are different based on the form of government of the municipality. And for example, cities the mayors can issue executive orders, which are then defensible, and the police can go and cite to an executive order, just like of the governor, but of the city's mayor. Your mayor cannot do that under this form of government.
Okay, so what do you recommend here?
Most have been done by executive order.
Other municipalities have passed this resolution, so are you just not seeing an enforcement provision in there?
Correct. You can still pass the resolution, but all of these issues that you're discussing are still going to be issues.
So we can pass the resolution and put up signage and hope we have high compliance.
Yes.
There's actually a couple of places in town that have signs up. I know one place in particular that I go to regularly, which I smile when I go in there, and they say due to local borough ordinances, you're required to wear a mask in here. The sign, is not referring to any local ordinance, but everyone in there wears a mask, and so it works, and it becomes self-enforcing. All right, so why don't we do this? There's 3 topics: the indoor, outdoor, and the signs. Let's go around and take a vote, starting with we'll separate the indoor, outdoor, and the sign issue. as 3 different topics. Is that okay for everyone?
I'm just looking at the way that the resolution is worded to make sure it's clean if we do that.
Right. It would
Because
have
indoor is really split into 2 parts. There's indoor for the
Public.
borough, indoor for businesses, I think.
Right.
And it's very specific, by the way, that it's businesses that are open to the public. It's not just all business. It's business that lets patrons in.
So
Jeff,
along
you
with,
good?
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Mayor, I was gonna say, along with Councilman Grossman saying you may want to split your votes based on the numbered paragraphs.
Mm-hmm.
And again, every one of these things will help flatten the curve and move Omicron and Delta faster and out of here. Every one of these things. Some, it's, if you want to do this, then do it across the board.
Okay, Vanu, go ahead,
Yeah.
and then we're going to start voting.
Okay, just before we vote, does anybody care about public transportation? And
That's-
wearing masks?
Public transportation is already mandated by the state.
Okay.
It's not ours.
Sorry, and again, just to remind me again, the first point, I think, I forgot who just asked it, but again, so the businesses are required to have to ensure that all customers wear masks.
No, themselves, the owners, the staff, and customers or visitors. Yes.
Right.
It's
So
all
what
3.
happened? Okay, again, I feel right. Customers again, and what happens if they don't? It's the business that gets in trouble from the Board of Health.
No, because we don't have an ordinance
Right.
directing that.
If we pass the ordinance, then that's how it does it.
Right. The answer ordinance. And again, we go for the vote. Again, I agree with everything that's written here. I just don't know what it does by us approving it is my concern. So as long as Wendy could tell me that, I'll take the other side of it. I don't want to burden the businesses. So as long as we can't, none of this burdens the businesses and it leaves it in the businesses' hands to take as strong or as weak an action as they'd like, then I'm good with it. Again, I agree with everything that's in here. It just doesn't do anything because it's not enforceable. That's the only thing that just confuses me.
Okay, Omar, how many paragraphs are here?
So
4 are
I'm getting information. This is how I see it. To vote on the indoor portion of the resolution, the outdoor portion, and the signage. So, are we going to vote on all 3 portions of that resolution?
I think we should take an individual vote on all 3. The
Okay.
first one being the indoor mandate.
Okay. So, I'm going to start.
But this the indoor has the businesses versus the public government areas, right? So there's paragraph 1, which is the businesses. Paragraph 2, which is our public areas.
Borough.
Oh, can I solve that problem? Let me just solve that problem. We all agree that obviously it should be in all our properties.
Right, I agree.
Well,
Indoor
that's point
public
2.
buildings.
Yeah.
That's paragraph 2.
So that's obviously we all agree on that.
So
Right.
there's
Any
no
borough
indoor
property
public
indoor.
venues.
Right.
To be fair, there are no public indoor venues in town.
They are, Wendy.
Davis
The
Johnson Park,
There's
Canvas Room,
The Canvas
library,
Senior
blah, blah,
Center.
blah.
Senior Center, library.
Right, all borough property, everyone's
Right, that's
required
point
to wear
2, which is municipal and government related buildings. So if you take
Already
out
done.
public, right, if you
Okay,
take
one
out
at a
public
time.
venues
Right.
from the first point is just businesses. The second point is the
Yes.
same thing, but just with government buildings.
Right.
The third is you don't need indoor because we just spoke about it in the last one. So the third one is outdoor public parks, playgrounds, and recreation. Now you've just cleaned it up into 3 MECE.
Right.
God, you love business.
Right.
Correct.
MECE elements.
So the
Yeah.
outdoor park, playground, and recreation is only limited to those that are the municipalities. It's not the school boards. It's not
Yeah, that's fine.
anything.
But there's just no indoor. You could take out the words indoor.
Just for clarity, would that also include the nature center?
Yes. Well, yes, it's our land. Yes.
Right.
Okay, so we've got,
And Deborah's doing that. Deborah Davison's doing that already at the nature center. Masks are
Right.
required, and the building currently is shut down for classes.
okay, so we
What-
reduced this to indoor and outdoor we're voting on, and then the signs, correct?
But where the indoor, it says, I'm just going to read this. It says all business and public venues located within our municipality that are open to the public. That is the indoor that we're discussing.
Right, okay, so that's the indoor, so let's take a vote. Omar, can you call the roll? Yes,
This roll call on indoor.
this is indoor.
Okay,
To
Councilmember.
mandate- Go ahead, the question is to mandate the mask wearing indoors.
Why don't we just, sorry, one last, I apologize. I think this would actually help a lot for everybody. We can't mandate. It is a misnomer. Why don't we call it a recommendation? And I bet you'll get a whole lot of people on this council to support it. There's no such thing as a mandate. I just figured this out. This is not a mandate because you can't mandate it. So why don't we call this a recommendation? And I bet you, Lauren, you'll get a whole bunch of people on the council that vote for it. And then you're going to do everything you want, which is we could write up signage and get the businesses to use it if they want it. We can get the mayor to speak more about it. We get Omar to do a dance. We can do all these things. See, Omar likes to dance. Can I make that recommendation? And then I bet you'll get a bunch of people to do what you're looking for, Lauren. Let's call it a recommendation or whatever.
I'm going to bump that to Wendy. Wendy, is there a legal, Wendy, help me draft this as a mandate. Wendy, I'm putting this back to you as our borough council.
There is no legal reason you cannot pass a resolution to recommend it.
So
I like
let's
that.
call it a mask resolution. I don't want to say recommendation. It's too wishy-washy to flatten our curve. I want to call it a mask resolution.
Sure.
You don't want to mandate.
I'm fine with that.
Mandate,
Okay,
mask
all right,
Fine
so
with that.
I think we're all okay
That's
with that.
better.
Okay, so
Okay,
Omar,
perfect.
so,
Thank
so
you.
Then just to that point, number one would have to be changed from shall require to shall either encourage all persons, strongly encourage, but we can't require them by that.
Look, the whole point of this is to flatten this transmission curve. The sooner everyone follows this, puts their mask back on, complies in the stores, the safer all of us will be through this next wave.
Well, let me ask a quick question if I can here. If the idea is for recommendation, perhaps the council would want to consider requiring all businesses to post signage recommending mask usage.
Look, I'm still on mandate, but I hear Adam that I'm not going to get this passed because none of the rest of my council want to actually flatten this in this way. So
yeah, we do.
guys
Wait. We do want to flatten it, but we
Good.
want to be responsible in terms of what the actual implication is. So to suggest we don't want to flatten it, please don't do that.
Well, you know what? A mandate flattens it a lot faster than a recommendation. I'll just put it that way.
Well, I think that for a mandate, you truly need an ordinance.
I'm fine passing a Board of Health ordinance, but I guess nobody else here is. Is that what
Well,
I'm
you
hearing?
can't pass a Board of Health ordinance. The Board of Health passes the ordinance.
Right.
yeah, if we start going towards ordinances, we're moving into February.
I still think this will be here in February, but I prefer faster, obviously.
Okay, so on the table, Omar, is, we're gonna need, I guess we're making I'm gonna need someone to make a motion to approve an indoor mandate / recommendation based on how the attorney is gonna do the final wording.
I think that'll
Omar?
make a difference in the vote on how it's worded. So
It's a recommendation, and all of us have
Then we'll
that
call a
want to
recommendation then.
help the businesses or help those who want to help others. Help us help you, and that's what we want to do. Whatever we could do, anything in our government power, we want to help. Absolutely.
Okay, so it's a recommendation, Omar.
Wendy, can we call it, Mayor, can we call it a resolution, a mask resolution? I don't like the
can
word
call it a mask
recommendation.
resolution.
It's
I
too
I'm a
loose for me.
little, as the person who's going to have to write the ratifying resolution after this, I don't understand what it means to call it a mask resolution. Are you talking about the title, or are you talking about now therefore be it resolved there's a mask resolution? I'm not sure how that works.
Look, I want to say that the government actually took action here. I'm not just suggesting. I think that's a mistake.
Look, so Wendy, to digress for a second, I mean, a resolution, it can be written, you know, that gets posted on the wall that the mayor and council, whatever, strongly recommends by resolution number XYZ that all patrons indoors wear their masks, et cetera, that sort of thing.
So, okay, so it would be a recommendation then, or a request.
Right, that's correct. I mean, a recommendation strongly recommends is better than a request.
I'd like to find another word. It's a thesaurus. Anyone? Good vocabulary? Jeff is the best.
Well, yeah, I mean, why don't
I'm
we
looking.
take a vote on this, and we can, Wendy can wordsmith later.
How about
Endorses the use?
proposition? I guess that's.
So here's why I'm asking, Mayor. What I would suggest, so that something goes into effect sooner rather than later, is to have a motion to enact blah blah blah, and then we'll have a confirming resolution on next Tuesday. But this way, it'll go into effect immediately.
That's fine. That makes sense.
But that's why I need to know exactly what I'm writing. Otherwise, you're not gonna, have as much. You don't want to debate it all over again next week.
How about prescribe?
There you go.
That's a recommendation that sounds stronger, to prescribe
businesses
something
shall
almost like
prescribe.
doctors prescribe medicine.
Of
Okay.
course, Jeff, if this was Roman Empire times, prescribing things would have a whole different meaning, wouldn't it?
It would.
Okay. Is that the word we're going with, Wendy?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
So all business, just to give an idea of what it would sound like, all businesses and public venue, or I'm not sure if you need business and public venues, but all businesses open to the public would probably sound better. Located in the borough of Tenafly shall prescribe that all persons, including owners, staff, customers, or visitors, wear proper masks as face coverings over their nose and mouth while inside the establishment.
I'm okay with it.
Okay. So,
Okay. Adam, are you okay? Who else? Everyone? Any
all
not?
right. Omar, let's call the roll.
Okay, so this is the roll call for prescribing mask wearing indoors.
Correct.
Okay. Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Mitten?
Given the change of language, I agree. Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay. The next is going to be about wearing masks using the same sort of language outdoors.
But
Outdoors.
before we get to that, the only question I have about number 2, which is Borough of Tenafly, do we want to add the library in there? It's not in there, and I didn't know if it should be spelled out, just to be clear. I know it's not an exclusive list.
Well, the library should certainly be included on borough property.
Isn't all of this already required?
Yeah, I mean, we've already mandated that administratively.
Right.
That's
I will-
already going on.
I will say I would like to make sure those first responders and DPW that can wear their masks amongst the residents should be wearing masks. I will say I see both departments maskless every day.
Okay, so I don't know if the resolution is probably weaker than the management ability to actually enforce it. So, I mean, that's already going on. In other words, they've all been instructed to do that already.
That's a personnel issue.
Right, correct. Okay, So then the question on the table, Omar, is yes or no to the same requirement for wearing masks outside.
Councilmember Dayton?
So this is Borough of Tenafly outdoor public parks, playgrounds, and recreation facilities, basically municipal facilities that are for our rec teams and our families, and I'm a strong yes on this, since I go to the playgrounds and no one around me has a mask.
Councilmember Grossman?
No.
Councilmember Menon?
No.
Councilmember Michaels?
This is the same recommendation, which I'd continue to recommend it to all our residents. So yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
No.
Councilmember Park?
No.
Okay. All right. The third issue is the signs, and the question is, will the borough provide signs, exact language to be determined, to
Can I
the
Mayor,
intervene on that
I'm sorry.
sign issue?
I have
Wait.
I have what, 2 no's, 4 no's, and okay.
2 yes.
I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. I apologize.
No problem. Okay, so Dan, were you speaking? Did you want to say something?
Yeah. For the sign part, I rather than creating whatever sign, the health department's got to have a standardized CDC sign that or from another agency, just
Love
a
that.
standard one that
Yeah.
universal that we can just get copies of and just give out. I don't think we need to make it further resolved.
I disagree. I think it should be from the Borough of Tenafly specifically and standardized. The CDC, I think everyone at this point just walks right past. This is saying the borough.
So we know better than the CDC at this point, is what you're
I'm
saying.
not saying we know better than CDC. I'm saying it's a different thing.
Is the signage just to indicate that mask wearing has been prescribed by resolution number X, or is the signage to show what proper mask usage and recommendations from the CDC are?
We have,
I think it's a good point, Wendy, because it's 2 separate issues. I think it's the former, just saying we've issued a resolution, the council has issued a resolution, please wear your mask. And if we want to show people how to wear masks or why, then it becomes, the CDC standardized language. So it really is 2 separate topics.
but can I also say that part of this provision, there's 2 parts of this. One is whether we want standardized signs, but the other one is a notification provision to the businesses. So there's 2 things here as part of this be it resolved clause. So it asks that the borough actually notify, if we pass this today, the business.
Well, I mean,
do with that.
yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, we're certainly having language in there that says we'll share this information with everybody is perfectly reasonable. How it gets shared doesn't need to be part of the resolution, right? Well, that's a
I didn't specify, I just said notification provision.
Right.
Well, you can always direct the Jimmy's office to notify all of the businesses, or direct the clerk's office, something to that effect. Yeah, that's 2 separate issues in there as to what the sign should say, or whether just sending the sign is notification.
Okay, so let's make a decision first on distributing the signs, a yes or no vote, and then we can determine, frankly, administratively, the best way to actually have the language on the signs, consistent with the message that's being put forth here tonight. Does that make sense to everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So Omar, let's call the roll. The question is, should the borough be providing signs to the different businesses and establishments in town?
Councilmember Dayton?
I'm going to go with Chief Chamberlain on this. The signs have value and it takes the heat off the business owners, so yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
No.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes, but are we gonna all get to see what the sign says?
Yes,
Or
yes.
okay, because that okay.
Everyone in
then
the
yes.
council will see the signs before they get distributed if the vote goes that way.
Okay.
Councilwoman, can you just repeat your vote, please, for clarity?
Oh yes, yes.
Councilmember Park?
No.
Okay. All right, Omar, are we clear on all that?
Yes.
Indoor
Indoor.
is moving forward. Outdoor is not. The signs are moving forward. And Wendy, the language in the ordinance has to reflect that this needs to be distributed to all the businesses and venues. And then Omar and Jimmy, the signs will be circulated to the entire council for review prior to them being distributed anywhere.
Can I add something for Jimmy? Jimmy, since we did not pass outdoor on our parks and playgrounds and our rec, can you please have our rec director reiterate to our rec sports and our travel sports the rules so that she's sending them out to anybody who's coming on our field to play, our fields and our parks, so that other communities who come here to Tenafly know what the rules are?
Of course, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for that. So let's move on to the second topic of the evening, which is the on-site COVID testing. Jimmy, would you like to explain this to the council, please?
Sure. We have a vendor who is willing to mobilize and set up a mobile COVID testing site in the main municipal lot. They have a trailer which they could set up. It would take about 2 to 3 weeks for them to mobilize. There is no cost to the borough. We already inspected the potential site. We would set them up with DPW and police. The only caveat is that they would need to tie into our electricity to provide, electrical service to their trailer, and everything would be done via appointment. It would be an appointment-based system online, and that's really it. We walked the site with DPW and police, figured a best location for traffic circulation, safety, and the ability for access to electricity. So it could be done. We're just looking for authorization for consideration if this is something the council would like to move forward. Again, it would probably take them at this point maybe 4 weeks. By the time they get their electrician, we were looking for them to set up near the snack shack in the parking lot. So they would have to tie into, they would have to run a line to tie into that. Again, there's no cost to the borough except for, the cost of the electricity. And that's it. We would provide a traffic pattern with the police recommendations, and their staff would assist circulating the traffic in a safe manner.
Councilman Grossman, then Councilman Menon.
All right, I think this is a great thing to have testing. Testing's good, and if it's no cost to the borough. I guess my only question is, this business, do they take insurances? Do they charge our residents for getting tested? How does that work? Because I'm sure they're not charitable, but I do want to know if they're competitive, because otherwise we're going to have it there. We've had one thing previously, which the residents didn't make use of because it wasn't economically feasible for them to.
Jimmy, I'm going to jump in on this
Yes.
one. So yes, this particular company that Jimmy's been talking to does take CARES Act, does take insurance. They don't charge anybody up front. They run similar to how you would get tested in any other facility. There is obviously a value of the contract to them because they do get paid otherwise. So it's no cost to the borough. But the reason that we're bringing this to the council now is timeliness. It would need to be, if we went to procurement to see which company could offer the most appointments or this or that or whatever it is as a concession procurement, obviously there's a lot more lead time. And given that they already need 3 to 4 weeks to get out there and how the surge in cases is now, that's why we would be bringing it to you to ratify as an emergency contract versus going out for a no-cost procurement. But it is not the same situation that we found with the last company. They do take insurance, they do run through the CARES Act, and there's no upfront payment and reimbursement type situation. It's fully through insurance provisions.
Okay, thank you for that.
This is
Yep.
great. Thank you, Jimmy, for doing that.
What can I ask? What kind of capacity are we talking about? How many people can be tested per hour, per day?
That is a question that I actually don't know the answer
Yeah,
to. I'm
I don't
sorry.
think we know the answer to that.
And who is it just for the residents? Is it who's allowed? Is it open
No,
to the public? From Dumont and
it
everyone?
would be public and it would all go through their website for appointments.
So I think it's very important to know how or what kind of capacity, because you have a CVS, you have all of these and who's allowed to test? Is it for people going on vacation 3 months from now? How do we determine who gets the testing? Is it somebody who has certain symptoms? How do we determine who gets the use of this?
Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead.
The short answer to the second question is that it's an online-based system, so first come, first serve, based on time slots that are available. And the first question about the capacity, I could find that out. But what I know for certain is that it would be spaced out, so it wouldn't be overwhelming traffic. But I could get that answer for you in terms of how much they're looking per hour per day.
I mean, the reason I'm asking is
Also,
because with all of these, the drugs, Walgreens and CVS and pharmacies, the problem is that, they can only do so many per day because, but there's, especially with an Omicron situation where everybody needs testing, this is just, it'll become another outlet to get tested, but it may not help. I mean, nobody could get an appointment at CVS. Nobody could get an appointment at Walgreens. So it'll help, but if it doesn't help in a major way, I don't know what the value of it is.
I have
Especially if you're
two
talking about
questions.
4 weeks from now and we have to pay for electricity. I don't know what the cost of setting up the electricity is either.
Two questions.
Councilman Park, go ahead.
Jimmy, what are the hours of operations?
I believe it was. I'm gonna look up the email, but I believe it was about 9 to 6, 9 to 5, 9 to 6.
And I believe it was
How
6
many
days
days a week?
right, Jimmy?
6 days a week. Sorry, Wendy.
That's what I was going to say, was 6 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
9 to 6 days a week. And then question for Wendy. Does it slow down the process if we quote unquote charge rent for the parking spots for them to be there?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a great service. Why are we trying to make it more difficult? Our residents can't get testing. They can't find home tests. They can't get PCR tests. It's 10 days to even get a PCR test. The faster we get this in, the better.
So does anyone who hasn't spoken about this topic like to any council members weigh in? Julie or Adam? If everyone is ready, we'll call for a vote on it.
There is no way to prioritize Tenafly residents, right? In their online system, there's no way to do that, right?
No.
When they reserve.
No.
And Wendy, just to ask, if we bring this company in, we can still bring in another one, but then if we can get someone faster, right? Doesn't preclude us.
You could have, there's no, the form of agreement they sent over has no non-compete. You could always fill every single open space you have with a different company if you wanted to.
Thanks.
Yeah,
cancel at any time, right?
At any time, there's practical limitations to how many different organizations, location, space, all that sort of stuff. Okay. Omar, why don't you call the roll, please? Yes, to allow us to go ahead and make this arrangement with this company.
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay. We've come to a major Rubicon to cross here. I need a motion to adjourn, please.
Actually, Mayor, I'm sorry if
Ah.
it wasn't on the agenda, but because this isn't a public meeting, you do need to have a public comment session, at least make it available.
Okay. All right. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak? Now is the opportunity. And please state your name and your address when you speak into the microphone. Omar, do you see any members of the public out there who are looking to speak or who are indicating raising their hand or anything?
Mayor,
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Omar. You were muted.
I see no hands, Mayor.
I
Okay,
just
is
saw
anyone
Jeff's
else?
hand. But...
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Being no members of the public wishing to speak, I'm going to close the public comment portion of the meeting and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Thank everyone for their time for being here this evening at the special meeting. Thank you. It's important.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, team. Bye.
And thank you, Councilwoman Dayton, for raising the issue. Second, please.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
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 Okay, everyone. Have a great evening.
Good night.
Good
You
evening.
too.
Take care.
Thank you.